This week's episode of Aussie Tech Heads is brought to you by Start New Company. Register your company immediately today with ASIC. ABN, TFN, GST registration is also available directly from the portal. Also set up your family trust and self-managed superannuation fund and more. All at startnewcompany.com.au. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/startnewco and keep an eye out for our regular specials. Start your new company now within 10 minutes of lodgement. All legal company documentation provided after registration. startnewcompany.com.au. And also brought to you by athwebhosting.com.au. All our servers are operating on SSD drives, immediate activation, SSL certificates, Aussie support, domain registration, and more. Easy install WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, and 300 other one-click installations. Generous space and bandwidth, auto backups, WordPress help and maintenance plans are also available on Contact. If your web page is important for your business or your life, contact us today. Aussie support, secure services, athwebhosting.com.au. And now for the show.
Welcome to episode 723 of the Aussie Tech Heads. I'm Jason Oakley, and this is Will Tompkinson. Hey, Will.
Hey, mate.
How's stuff?
Yes, it is.
Keeping cool up there?
We've had one night where it was single digits, so it was like 7 degrees. And I don't think it's been like below 25 again for the rest. 20. I lie. It's 24.
There you go. A whole degree, man.
So it's, yeah.
People in the US pay tens of thousands of dollars for a degree. You got 1 degree for free.
I was going to say, look what happened to the US.
Yeah, right. It's funny because it's true.
Oh, it's that sign, you need to understand languages, and there's a guy crawling across the desert. It says H2O 400 meters or water 5 miles, and the guy goes towards the water.
And then people explaining the joke underneath because...
Yeah, cause that's the funniest part about it. There's like thousands of comments, and like 90% of them are like, I don't get it.
Well, we're back. We're bad. He's black and I'm mad. We weren't here last week because I was very sick.
Yeah, and I
wasn't. You'll pick up this week.
Well, I wasn't feeling super tremendous either, actually. It, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just a sudden change in weather or if, but yeah, something wasn't doing what it was supposed to do.
What the heck is that?
Oh,
you got a new thing up there now.
That's just started now. That was been running for like the last 20 minutes. So OBS has just had an update.
That was funny. Aussie Tech Heads! Whoa, whoa! Neon flash and stuff.
It does. It's actually the scrolling I'm using is actually designed for a live scoreboard.
Oh, right.
And it's designed to constantly update. And if I go into the text file and edit the text file,
yep,
and close it again, it'll go back to start and flash like it's an update. Like, look at me, and you can change that to say whatever. It's I don't know why.
I had a bit of news. My Commodore 64 game Toxic Frenzy was ported to the Mega 65 platform now with full 256 color background support and stuff. So I had to redraw all the background graphics and got that up and going. So Simon, a friend of mine in the UK, Shallan 50K, he streams on Twitch. Check him out. He spent 2 of his shows, about 3 hours, I guess, each, because we do a lot of shenanigans and just mucking around and trying to annoy him and stuff like that. And he converted it from pure Commodore 64 to Commodore 65, Mega 65 code. So it runs really nice and has nicer background graphics that I redesigned from scratch. So that was a lot of fun, and it's going to be release free on the Mega 65, so that when it finally does launch, hopefully before the end of the year, maybe start of next year, that people will have some free games to play. Because a lot of people are just like, well, why would I get it? There's no games that are Mega 65 specific. But like, well, now there is.
Well, that's it, and just so people can sort of see what we're talking about while we're talking.
Yep.
So this is like if you had a Commodore 64 or pretty much anything back in the era, really.
Yep.
This is about the best the graphics would ever look.
Yep.
Depending on the console, they potentially looked worse, but this is about as good as it ever got.
Yep.
And of course now the thing with the retro games have come back, but obviously they're much more what we would consider modern graphics, even though they're still not. But
Yep.
It's such a step up. It's funny, you only technically go from 64 to 128, but what people don't realise is you step up in 4, you times it by 4. So it's the same when a lot of people go, oh, I want to watch 4K, YouTube videos or whatever, and they can't because their internet won't support it. Oh, but it's only twice the bandwidth of 1080p. It's like, well, no, it's not. It's 4 horizontally the bandwidth and 4 vertically the bandwidth, and then 4 times the bit rate to support that.
Yep.
So it's 16 times the initial data frame, and then another 4 times that 16 for the actual amount of data. So, like, just to simply make let's say in the old days, a sprite was what? Were they 8x8? 16
Yep.
by 16? Yeah, 8x8.
8x8, some 16 by, well, Commodore 64 is like 16 by 21,
Yeah.
just to be different.
So, yeah. But let's say a sprite was 8x8.
No, 24 by 21, sorry.
And then you wanted to make, an upgrade to the game or whatever, and you wanted to make that sprite 16 by 16. Well, it's not just doubling the amount of processing power required to move that sprite.
Yep.
It's like, it's times it by 4, then times it by 4, and then times it by 16, and you've got your, like the amount of processing power. So
Yeah,
yeah,
because you got bit depth for the graphics, depending of 16 colors, 256,
that's it. And that's what I mean. And
4096. The Commodore Amiga had 4096, and everybody lost their mind. And then with the hold and modify mode, and now we do trillions of colors.
And that's the thing. Like it's amazing how the Amiga 500 was, in some regards, so far ahead of its time. It had a massive color palette. It had a huge resolution.
Yep.
What it was doing.
Fantastic sound.
Oh, the sound was. I still, honestly, I know everyone raves about the Commodore and stuff, but I still think the Amiga had the best sound chip. Whether or not it was always used to its full potential, but the fact that you could hook it up to a MIDI keyboard and play and record proper MIDI as well as WAV files. You could play MIDI on the Commodore 64, which is one of its advantages. But and it wasn't that, the time frame wise, they weren't that far apart, really.
Yeah.
Probably half a dozen years, really. But the leaps and bounds that some of the smaller, what started off as smaller companies brought to the, Amstrad was another one.
Yep.
This sort of company that appeared out of nowhere, then suddenly had, this huge, powerful machine that it just looked like a Commodore 64 with a colourful keyboard. Like it didn't look. Yeah.
And then the Atari ST taking on the Amiga.
Yeah, the Atari ST. Yeah. And then then you actually started getting to the world of PCs from that point onwards. But it's funny. The reason I'm saying that, so a lot of the retro stuff's coming back. Like obviously things like Raspberry Pis and whatever are allowing that to happen, partly because of their size and how powerful they are.
Yep.
You can emulate hundreds of consoles with one little Raspberry Pi now. It's as powerful as anything up to, probably late 90s, realistically.
Yeah. And then you got the C64, the 664 Mini, the VIC-20, and they all emulate it, but have a similar looking keyboard, but output in HDMI. So you get really good image on your normal TV. You don't have to go for conversion leads and all sorts of rubbish.
That was what I was going to say. That's one of the drawbacks of having, if you actually have an old console or an old even a TV plug-in game or anything like that runs off what was traditionally a CRT monitor.
Yep.
Trying to make that run on a newer LCD or HDMI like
terrible.
OLED, not only doesn't the picture look any good, but after you've gone through 4 converters to make it work, you're losing even more quality anyway. So
Exactly. That's why somebody was saying on a Discord channel recently, I've been doing this interactive fiction, and it's been released. If anyone wants to download it, try it out and vote. It's the Itch.io Puny Inform Jam. My game was called Arthur's Day Out, but just don't vote it for full points and not play it because it's annoying people that a lot of people doing that. But they were saying, oh, there's a program called Osmoo, and it's a website where you upload your Infocom Z3 Z machine engine code, and it converts it into Commodore 64, Commodore 128 program file or disk image that you can put on a real computer or put in your emulator. And they just brought out support for the Mega 65. And someone's like, oh, I don't get what's the point of Mega 65? It's Commodore, but it's got other stuff, but sometimes that's not supported by other games. And what's the point? And the guy who started the Puny Inform stuff is like, well, you can plug it into your HDMI TV. That's the first
and it
good
looks
step.
right. It's not just even a matter of plugging in; it's a matter of it being plugged in and it looks the way it's supposed to look.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. Like I've got the original, the re-released Nintendo thing they did, and you plug it into a widescreen, and you've either got 2 choices: you can letterbox it, and it still kind of looks wrong because the refresh rate of the monitor is 60 hertz and the refresh rate of the game's 25, so it kind of refreshes in this weird kind of way. Or you can stretch it and make it the full screen, which then it just looks completely wrong because depending on some of the games simply just make Mario really fat, and some of the other games actually give you more background. So in games like Double Dragon, Street Fighter, I think it was actually on Nintendo, but it gives you more of the background, so you can see the enemies are coming way before you're supposed to be able to see them. You know, but I was just looking on. Just saying before about, the CRTs are becoming hard to get. And I was just looking on eBay, and there's a vintage Commodore 1084, which is the if you're after a monitor, like that's the one that everybody wants. So if you ever had a Amiga or a Commodore, that was the one. It's in where is it? Endeavour Hills in Victoria, and it's currently $600.
Yep.
Like. And that'll sell, no trouble at all because of
everyone
what it is.
Wants it and needs it.
But in the late 90s, we were throwing these things into wheelie bins and paying to get rid of them.
Yeah. Couldn't get rid of them fast enough.
No.
My dad's had a introductionary lesson into different outputs and inputs for computers and monitors because he rang me up because nothing was coming up on the screen on the computer I gave him, which was my daughter's old one, which is still 10 times more powerful than the one that he had. And it turned out that the VGA cable that's plugged into the back of the computer has been pushed up against the back of the table's privacy board so much that it's bent some of the wires.
Yeah.
So you just have to straighten a bit and just get it right. And I said, look, I'll have to get you another cable. Now, if I don't have VGA, what else does this computer and monitor support? Because his monitor's really old. I'm like, oh, it's got DVI. So it can do VGA or DVI. I'll give you probably one of each because I've got those. And I'm not going to use VGA or DVI anymore. In fact, I said my new computer and monitor has got HDMI, which was the next step up, but that's been they've gone on to DisplayPort, and even my monitor now has USB-C input.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you're here.
Yeah.
VGA, then there was DVI, then there was HDMI, then there was DisplayPort. Now there's USB-C. This is how far back you are. I've got all those cables. You can have as many as you want because I've probably got like 5 sitting in the cupboard.
Before EGA, you had CGA or EGA, then you had CGA, then you had monochrome, then you had RGB composite, And then you had, there's S Video somewhere.
Component.
S Video is in there somewhere as well.
Yep.
Then you had Component. Then you had the actual
TV aerial.
Yeah, the actual broadcast RF. You had a mini TV broadcasting station in your device.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's really been this progress, and it's weird. The DisplayPort's one of the few things that actually made its way out of Mac relatively seamlessly.
Yep.
FireWire was the other one, but it disappeared a few years ago.
Yep.
I still have a FireWire camera. It's dumb. It's got a USB. You can plug a USB into it, but you can only edit. You can only look at the photos if you use a USB cable.
Yep.
You can't download them. You can just look at them.
Oh.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. You can't look at the video. Just the pictures. If you plug a FireWire in, you can download the files, but you still can't look at the video unless you download them first. So I'll pull the SD card out and put it in the reader. But it's like, why you've half crippled both of these? Like, neither of them do the job they're supposed to do. You've managed to cripple both of them.
It's crazy.
So
yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Everything's going to go USB-C, obviously. But
well, yeah, I mean, you can get a USB-C, like a little 12-inch or 14-inch portable monitor. You can fold it up with your laptop and plug it into USB-C, and it becomes a touchscreen, and it's powered by the USB-C port. And
yep, well, the Apple laptops, MacBook Air and Pro only come with USB-C in and out. So you got USB power on the MacBook Pro. You've got two USB-C on each side, so you can do power, monitor, extra peripherals and stuff, and they all just plug into only USB-C. That's why when I got my work laptop, the MacBook Pro, I had to get an adapter purchased by the company as well, because I couldn't plug my HDMI monitor in. There's just no way.
No. Yeah, I think... I mean, Apple's always done stuff like that. I don't think that'll happen in the PC market for a while.
No.
Because
they'll support all the things.
PC
Still got USB 2 in the damn things.
Yeah, well, that's it. Well, yeah, actually, a lot of them do. Yeah, a lot of them still have like two USB 3 ports and then 6 USB 2 ports. But having said that, 99% of the things you're going to use, unless it's a hard drive or a monitor
or a webcam,
even most of those work happily on USB 2. My webcam's on 2. Like, they don't have enough data for 3.
Mine used to complain maybe a couple of computers ago. You would plug in a webcam and it'd say, this doesn't have enough bandwidth for it or something.
You would
not
get
enough power.
Sometimes you get the power one if you've got other high draw devices in, like if you've got Wi-Fi keyboard and stuff that you draw power.
Yep.
But if you plugged it into a powered hub,
no problems.
Yeah, if you have this is a USB 3 hub, because it's the blue one, but it's also lets me plug a power into here as well, so that when I am drawing the webcam and the wireless mic and the mixer and all these other devices, I don't run out of power on that USB port.
Hang on, you just unplugged that. How can you be still using your microphone and webcam? You said supposed to be plugged into it.
That one up there. No, this is another one. This is the one that runs on the Octoprint to split the printers up, which I'm not using at the moment, so that's why it's sitting.
You got an update for your printer, didn't you?
So I've got among other things, none of them work, but I've got the Ender 3, which has... Okay, so when the Ender 3 3D printers first came out, they were supposed to be the best performing, best value for money, best option to buy.
Yep.
95% of them were. The problem is the 5% that really weren't. They were dogs. Like, they didn't have one fault. They had 30 faults. And this Ender 3, I've put new mainboards in, I've put new stepper motors in, I've put new
power supply.
I've done like two stepper.
Did you get a new bed?
Stepper drivers. No, the bed was okay. I've had to do bearings on the axis. I've had to put new belts in it. I
Capricorn
have had
tube.
to put PTFE tubing in. I can't think of. Oh, I had to change the fans out that all burnt out. So
You got the thing that was like, this is a really great axe. I've had it 40 years. It's only had 10 handles and 8 heads on it. It's still the same axe.
Yeah, it's. I mean it's got some of the original paint still on it, I guess. But the thing is, like, it's not a cheap printer, and I've got an old i3, and I've got a Delta that, okay, they play up, but they're cheap printers. I expect them to play up.
Yep.
But anyway, so I think I finally got this thing. I've thrown enough more parts at it again, and I've been waiting on the last part, which this time it's a direct drive extruder. So the extruder goes directly onto the hot end rather than going through the PTF tube and in.
Yep.
So theoretically,
fingers crossed, Mr. T, and arms crossed and eyes crossed.
The $400 printer that's cost $1,100 should actually work.
They bloody better work for 10 years now.
The $200 printers only cost me $240.
Oh, does it print money?
Yeah, well.
Or is it just eat it?
So far, it's all it does. But yeah, it's I seem to have that with tech. That doesn't matter what I buy. I can buy top of the range, I can buy bottom of the range, I can buy anything in between, and it'll always have a problem. It's just like a rule. Like
my daughter is saying the same. Every time she gets a computer, something screws up. Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what I wanted to tell you this week as well. So she got my old computer when I bought this new one, right? And I left the M2 C drive in there because they're fast and it was already there. And she had a 1 terabyte SATA drive that was the mechanical one still.
Yeah, spinning disc. I am listening.
And she wanted to have the 1 terabyte drive in the new computer, which I gave her. And so I plugged it in and booted it up, and it couldn't find a D drive. And I'm like, well, why can't it find D drive? So I tried a few SATA ports, tried a few power sockets on the power supply, couldn't find this D drive at all. And I was like, oh, I just, these days, I don't have the patience to screw around with computers anymore. If I want a new computer, I go to the ple.com.au website, type in everything I want, say, you build it and send it to me. I don't want to deal with this crap. So I took it to my friend Paul in town, who runs a computer shop. And anytime I've got any problem now, I just go, look, here's the thing. That's what's wrong with it. I don't care if it's a simple thing that needs one wire put on or whatever. I don't want to think about it anymore. My job is thinking all day long, and I don't want to do it when I knock off work. So you get some money and I get my stuff fixed. So I left it with him in the morning, the day before yesterday. And he said, oh, yeah, it should be something quick and easy. And I was like, well, I figure it would be. I mean, you've got power and you've got data, and you plug them in and you plug them in where they go. There's not much you can do wrong.
No.
So there we go.
So this is a 1 terabyte spinning disc. This is a full, just for a reference, this is a full PC, what you'd find inside a normal computer.
Yep.
This is a laptop drive, so there's your size difference. And then this, if you have a SSD drive, or it will be about the same size as this, just a solid state drive, not a physically spinning drive.
Yep.
And then when we're talking about mobile
M2 ones,
that's one there. So that can be the same amount of data that's on that one.
Or more.
Or more on that.
Yeah.
So to plug these in, they've literally just got, not like the old days where you had 40-pin cables and stuff, you've literally just got a power connector.
You can't get it wrong. It's keyed.
The irony is the power connector is the big connector.
Yeah.
And which only uses 2 or 3 of the 12 pins.
Yeah.
And the data connector's the 4-pin connector.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So they rang me up in the afternoon and they're like, we can't fix it. The hard drive is fried.
What?
And the DVD writer that's in there is also fried.
What?
And so they said, I don't know what you want to do. I said, I'll just come pick it up. And we're obviously not using the DVD writer because who does?
Who does, yeah.
But I said, I'll just order an M2 and I'll plug it in myself. And so he said, well, as for the M2, we did notice that on this motherboard, it's got a SATA version of the M2 and it's got a PCI 4.
Yeah.
And you want the PCIe 4 because it's like blitzing fast compared to the SATA.
Yeah.
So we moved it across to there. It now boots off that one. And if you get the new one for your daughter, just plug it into the SATA one, which she's just going to use for game storage and stuff anyway.
Yeah.
And he said, I'll show you what happened. When we plugged it in, nothing would come up, and we thought that was odd. And we had a look at the lights on the front of the DVD writer, and the LED light is blinking really, really fast, but not responsive. And we're like, well, that's a bit strange. And so the young fella here was like, well, I'm not sure what's going on. Can you give me your CD drive, and we'll try plugging that in and make sure it's not the drive or something. So they plugged in his drive and fried his drive.
Well, that's $12 well spent.
He's like, hang on, I can smell something. Turn it off. So he turned it off, put his hand on the back of my DVD writer, and nearly burned his hand off. And he's like, okay, that's definitely not good. But what he did, he got the power cable that plugs into the power supply, which came with the power supply, and one of his own, and compared them. Now, on his one, both of them have got 6 pins that go into the power supply at the other end.
Yep.
The top left one is supposed to be empty. The next 2 on that row full, and the bottom 3 are full. On the cable that was supplied to me by the manufacturer, the top left one had a cable plugged into it, and the bottom middle one was missing.
That had been pinned wrong.
So it had been pinned wrong by the manufacturer and fried all the stuff.
But what's actually interesting about that is you would assume, like if I look on the back of this drive here, the ones that are aren't pinned don't connect. Like there's no connection between the pin and the board. So
no, it's at the other end of the cable that plugs into the modular gaming power supply.
I see. Okay, yeah. Not at the end of the
with that little clip that you plug it in and unclip it. Yeah. That end, the manufacturer. So he said, "I'll tell you what. It's like, here's your cable." I was like, "What? Chuck it in the bin, dude. Are you serious?" He said, "Go back home and check the rest of the cables, because I know they always give you like half a dozen when you buy a new computer, and probably more of them are keyed wrong. In which case, hopefully you're not the only one who's got. Well, hopefully you are the only one, because if other people have got these that are keyed wrong, they're burning out stuff all over the place. Manufacturers should not be able to make that big a mistake."
And it's not like it's a cheap. What brand power supply was it? It was a Corsair, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, they're a pretty good
800 watt.
They're a good
modular
brand.
Gaming.
And just
yes, it was Corsair. Yes.
And they're a good system. Like just one of those fluke things where it just moved in the machine when it was pinning it, I guess. But
not a clue. But
also, if people are interested, you can actually buy. This is a DVD/Blu-ray burner that's USB 3 plugged in, and it's portable, so you can take it with you. So if you ever do need to go into a service call, or you need to do something where you need to access media or write to media, you can still buy these. They're about $40 now.
Nice.
You don't need to have one in your system. You just carry a portable one.
Yep.
Yeah, they're so cheap now. It's stupid. I remember my first CD burner was about $1,100, and I think my first DVD burner was about $400.
And they were 1X.
They were one on a good day.
On a good day.
And you sit there
even when I had like 8X and 32X, I was like, I think I'll just go with 6 or 8. Well, I don't really trust 32.
They used to, but see, they never really wrote at that speed anyway. They'd read at that speed. They don't ever write at 8 tops. 8. But you used to sit there not using Nero and just watch the buffer bar.
Nero burning ROM.
You watch this buffer bar going, stay up, don't you dare, no, go back up, no.
All that stuff from back in the day. Man, we've done half a show and there's no news yet.
Turn your screensaver off, turn everything off, close all the apps, put the keyboard in the mouth up that end so you couldn't touch them, make sure there's nothing that can touch the case. You start and you're like...
That's it, don't touch. Sit on the other side of a room with some binoculars, and is it ready yet? Do you want to verify? Yes, I do want to verify every single DVD or CD. I want to verify. I used to make those VCDs
Oh yeah, yep.
with videos made from my Motorola A1000 and stuff like that. And my Canon, I can't even remember what model it was, but it had the compact flash memory chip.
Yep. Yeah. Anyway, speak.
What's this going on up here?
We've only been recording for half an hour. It's all fine. So, yes, we have places you can find us on the internet. Next. So we do have a Patreon.
And places to give us money. That's it. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, you can figure the rest out. We do have Patreon. We do have coffee. Of course, you can donate through PayPal if you want as well. There's also a couple other options. If you wish to, give us contact, or if you want us to. We're open to bribes, sponsorship, free stuff, whatever. Give us stuff. We're not complaining at all.
Even e-liquids.
Well, yeah. But so no, it helps. We're not a sponsored show. We don't have YouTube ad revenue, so
and we take all crypto.
We do accept crypto, and yeah, so it does help us out. It helps us, keep the show running, and when we need to get hardware or software like our hosting and things like that. So
me and Mr. T's going for all the Doges.
We've got the Dogecoin.
The Doge.
So
Doge and engine.
To put it into perspective, Dogecoin was started. I can't remember what it was. Started
As a
about
joke.
6 or 7 years ago. I think it was. 2 guys. One of them was an Aussie. They started as a joke. It was a meme. It was Doge, like the dog thing.
Shibu.
Yeah, that's the one. So that's how that was how it started, and it's sort of, I guess in a way it was kind of just, oh yeah, that's cool, whatever. And then they sort of, I think even they forgot about it at one point.
So wow, very cool.
Yeah. But Elon Musk, this dude who does things with cars and spaceships.
And my battery.
He that's right, you got a Powerwall. He is the loudest and most prominent supporter of Dogecoin. His tweets, he's got like 50 million Twitter followers, and he regularly tweets about Doge and how he sees it. One of his last ones that I saw, I don't know, probably a couple of weeks ago now. There was Doge barking at the moon.
Yep.
And there's another one about similar to that too, because that's like to the moon. If you're not sure, in crypto speak, to the moon means it's going to go nuts and go off. But basically, after he did that, it spiked about 600%.
Yep.
Which was brought it up from like 3 cents to like 50 cents, and then it sat there for a couple of weeks, and then the last few days it's gone nuts again, and it's gone up from 50 cents to like 80. I think it peaked at like 89 cents. It's up to 80 cents at the moment, but it peaked to like 89 cents at 2 o'clock this morning or something.
Yep.
I'm just checking now just to see if I'm correct. Yeah, it's currently 77 cents. So basically it's like all crypto, it doesn't have any foundation in the real world, but you can mine it, and I actually do mine it.
I mine with NiceHash, get Bitcoin, and then convert it into Doge on Binance.
Which doesn't make sense because you earn more mining Doge directly, but anyway.
Well, you can't mine Doge directly.
Well, you're mining it indirectly. It's unmineable, but it's
unmineable.
It's complicated. But yes. So basically, currently it's worth about 78 billion, which puts it as the third or fourth highest coin behind Bitcoin.
How many billion did Musk buy? He bought a few billion of it.
He bought, I know he bought 10 million there at one hit. Basically, you've got Bitcoin, Ethereum, then Dogecoin. Yeah, so it's currently rated third on the amount.
Dogecoin is up 12,000% since January. So if you had invested back then,
which I didn't, not quite that early. I think I was in March, which it was still. I think it's still up a fair bit from there. But
and apparently, because Elon's going to be on Saturday Night Live hosting at the next one, that's also going to push Doge up. So,
Well, there's a couple of things that's done it. One is that he's now accepting it to pay for his products, whether that's Powerwalls or Teslas or flamethrowers, whatever you want to buy from him. He's accepting Dogecoin,
Yep.
And Bitcoin. But the other thing that's done it is I can't find the story. I found it the other day, but I don't know what I've done with it. There's a New York, I think it was New York, but there's an American. Is it NLB, National Basketball League of Basketball, or whatever it is?
Yeah.
One of their
NBL.
teams, no, I think it was MLB, something. Anyway, one of their teams has decided to start selling tickets and merchandise, and they've selected Doge as their coin of preference. So that's another, and that was a day where it jumped quite considerably from like 60 cents to 85 cents in that day when they announced that.
Yep.
So that was a pretty big jump. And I mean, you got to think, okay, Bitcoin's worth $75,000-$80,000 a coin, but here's the thing: if Bitcoin jumps 10%,
Or if it doubles, let's just say it doubles. It's if you buy $10, you get $20. But if your Doge goes up 12,000%, and you bought $1, now you got $12,000.
Yeah,
so
that's right. So even though Bitcoin's worth more per coin, the chances of earning money on Bitcoin is pretty slim because it's not going to peak that much. Not in relatively short term, but yeah, for something like Doge or Ripple or Engine, a lot of those coins are a lower value coin. They're good for a lot of people to start off with because you can throw $20, $30 at it, get 1,000 coins. And if you get lucky, like some people have with Doge, and that 1,000 coins is now 12,000 coins, and you've gone from from 0.3 cents a coin to 85 cents a coin. It doesn't sound like a lot in that respect, but when you've got 12,000 coins that have done that, suddenly it's a decent chunk of money.
Yep.
So, I think in a lot of respects, cryptos, people. Because share trading is such a common thing, people really confuse crypto and shares. They think they're very similar, but a lot of them are actually direct opposite of each other.
Yep.
If in a share stock, if something's doing well, you'll buy it, but the second it doesn't do well, you'll turn around and sell it. With crypto, it's the other way. If something's falling, then that's when you buy it, and you hang on to it until it starts to increase again.
Yep.
So it's kind of the complete opposite of what you do with regular shares. You look for the cheapest thing that has growth potential, not the thing that has a proven growth potential. So
Elon Musk has dubbed himself the Doge Father.
That's funny.
I like it.
I can see him sitting in the corner.
SpaceX is going to put literal Dogecoin on the literal moon.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
That's why it's going to the moon, right?
Yeah, that's it. As long as he doesn't use real dogs, I guess.
So if we're going to be talking about crypto, let's start with a news story.
That was a news story. What are you talking about?
eBay is open to the possibility of accepting cryptocurrency as a form of payment in the future and is looking ways to get non-fungible tokens, NFTs, onto its platform, the company said on Monday. Growing number of companies have begun to accept virtual currencies as a form of payment. Taking an asset class has been shunned by major financial institutions a few years ago, a step closer to becoming mainstream. Tesla is already accepting Bitcoin as payment for its electric cars, while payments giant PayPal last year started allowing customers to buy, sell, and hold cryptocurrencies using its online wallets. We're always looking to get the most relevant forms of payment, and we'll continue to assess that as we go forward. We have no immediate plans, but cryptocurrency is something we're keeping an eye on, eBay said. In an interview with CNBC, Chief Executive Officer Jamie Eon said that accepting virtual currency was an option the company was looking at. eBay, which disappointed investors with a weak second quarter profit forecast last week, said it was looking for a number of ways to get into the NFT space. NFTs, a type of digital asset that exists on a blockchain, have exploded in popularity this year, with NFT artwork selling for millions of dollars and musicians such as Kings of Leon rock group embracing them for their latest album. We're exploring opportunities on how we can enable NFTs on eBay in an easy way. Everything that's collectible has been on eBay for decades and will continue to be so for the next few decades. So there was the girl who was in a meme when she was really young, and she was standing in front of a house that was burning down,
With
and
that look on her
had
face.
this really evil, sly look on her face.
Yeah.
And she was memed to death. Well, that meme she put onto an NFT blockchain and sold it for $500,000
Yeah.
and paid off all of her study loans and a house and a few other things. And I think she might have even given some to charity and stuff and helped her mum and dad. So that's where things are going now, is digital music and art becoming NFTs.
It's semi-redundant insofar as PayPal is going to be accepting crypto, so for eBay to accept crypto as payment is kind of a redundant thing.
Since you use PayPal anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I get, okay, NFTs are fine, like not that's okay to list that sort of stuff, but yeah, I think they're trying to see. I know that I was reading an article about Etsy, which is Etsy's like
Hobbyists one.
yeah, it's like hobbyists, and it's like going down to your local weekend markets, but it's more of a national thing that you can pick up everything from clothing to art stuff to folk art to whatever. And I know that a lot of people on there accept crypto as payment for the things they offer. So I wonder if it's kind of and actually there's some NFT stuff going on there as well. So I wonder if it's kind of a bit of a stab at.
You wonder if,
that.
like, a year ago, somebody was like, "Oh, I suppose I'll accept Doge. If you want to buy this case for your iPhone, it'll cost you about 400 Doge because they're only worth like 0.04 cents or something."
Yeah.
And then suddenly the person who got 400 Doge from that, just for somebody who bought a phone case, is like, "Holy crap, I'm rich."
Well, that's it. No, that's the way it works. I mean, I know at work now that we own the place. Yeah, that's right. We own the place. You heard right.
Congratulations.
So Battery Central, been working there for over 10 years. We decided to buy Battery Central Ipswich. We bought that out. So that's a whole other roller coaster in and of itself. But we now accept Bitcoin and Litecoin and Doge and
Ethereum
and Engine and Australia Coin. We actually have Australia Coin point of sale dedicated
Terminal.
specifically for Australia Coin. So I'm sort of heading down that route as well, but I've got I think the way it's going to work is we're only going to accept it on labour and like second-hand stuff. Yep. I don't think I can run the risk of accepting it on, like, say you buy...
Because you got razor-thin margins, right?
Well, on some stuff especially, like say you buy a set of golf cart batteries at $1,500, we literally make like, I think $15 a battery. Like, because there's everybody selling the batteries, there's nothing in them. So something like that I couldn't afford to take. I can't afford to take even a couple of dollar hit on. But if I'm working on your car and it's costing me a couple $100 in labour, well, worst case scenario, I've taken a hit on labour and it's not a big deal.
Yep.
So we have to be selective about what we take it. But yeah, we're getting to the point now where we're going to accept crypto as payment as well.
Whether got it now.
I think it makes sense because a lot of people might have. We'll take Doge for example. If people had, let's say you had $1,000 in Doge, well, you're going to have
12,000.
Say 10 grand in Doge now, so you can go and buy that. You get that solar set up for your camper trailer or whatever that you've been wanting to do. You can physically do it, and if you've got the option to pay with crypto, well, it just makes it that little bit easier, doesn't it?
Yep.
So I think it is going to become more mainstream. I
think I mentioned before these e-vaping stuff and the liquids and that. The shop that you buy them from accepts crypto. I make crypto. My desktop computer right now is churning out crypto. And I've got the ASIC in the garage that I run during the sunny hours of the day making crypto. I can buy this with stuff from there. It hasn't cost me anything.
Yeah, that's it.
This is basically free because the computers are on all day. And I've got the battery, the two LG Chem and the Tesla battery. So I've got free solar electricity. I'm not churning through and being one of those evil people who are polluting the world by chewing down electricity from the grid all day and night. I just do it through during the day for that one, and this one, which takes less hit on the battery, can go all night, and I can just get these anytime I want to get a new one, upgrade, buy more liquid or whatever, and it's basically free.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. Like, if I was mining Bitcoin instead of Doge, I'd be getting about probably $5 or $8 a day on average.
Yep.
I mean, I don't have a super powerful graphics card. I've only got a RX 5700 8 gig,
Good enough.
which is good enough to get me about $8 a day for mining Bitcoin. But the thing is, it does that while I'm not using my computer, so it's $8 a day.
Yep.
Yeah, my solar's running it during the day anyway, so it's not costing me anything to run it, and it's sitting there doing nothing. So I might as well make it work for a living, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so you think about that's $40 a week that I wouldn't have had if I wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, I've got two graphics cards in here. There's a low-powered one that's not much good for mining, but I can play Minecraft, I can play 7 Days to Die and all these other 3D games using that card, and just use the NVIDIA 3070 exclusive for
Don't
mining
tell
at the
people
same
you've
time
got
that I'm
that. You'll
doing
get
other
robbed,
stuff.
and people will come just for the card.
Right? Oh, man.
Because there's a
And then
global
people are like, oh, all the crypto miners are buying up all the cards and it's their fault. No. There was
No,
a
it's really not.
snowstorm, a little bit of a freeze over in Texas that shut down a manufacturing business there that does chips. There was
Then there was a
drought in Taiwan, and they need tons of. There's so much water you need to be able to make silicon chips. You wouldn't
Yeah.
believe it. Thousands of liters just for each chip, stuff like that.
And
They
then-
had to divert that to agriculture and to people, so they weren't able to make chips there. They had the COVID where people had to stay home. They had more people working from home, so more computers were purchased by companies for people to work from home. And
then
there's
you
chip
had
shortages. In fact, Intel is now ramping up chip manufacturing to try and help out with the downturn of chips.
And then you had companies like Xiaomi, for example, who said, "Oh, we're dialing back production of some of our products because they're not as popular, and we're not going to think we're going to sell as many in the economy."
And Australia and the USA said, "No more China."
Yeah, well, there's that. But then suddenly they went from, "Hey, actually, we need to step up our production because we're selling more than we thought." And then it's like, well, hang on, we're already at capacity.
Yep.
And Intel, as you said, is spending $3.5 billion to open a new factory in New Mexico. New Reality introduces they're doing a new set of chips. IBM is come back and making a set of chips, and they've actually just prototyping a 2 nanometer test chip currently at the moment, which is a third, which means they can put 3 times as much information on the current size chips.
And Nvidia's going to gimp the graphics cards for mining anyway.
Well, only the new ones. Doesn't apply to pre-existing stuff, but it's irrelevant
Except
anyway.
for 3060, they said they're going to roll out a driver that's going to gimp the 3060s.
No, really?
Yep.
So
Existing ones
going to
and
install it.
new ones. But they're also going to release mining-only cards that don't have any video out.
Which is only 10 years too late. But and that's the thing. But the thing is, that's all fine and to say they're going to do that, but they can't release cards because there aren't any cards to release. Like, I was looking on Facebook Marketplace, and there was 2 gig Sapphire. I want to say like 5750s or something.
Yep.
10-year-old card. I mean, they were a top-end card 10 years ago, but now they're almost you probably couldn't get them anymore anyway, something that slow, but they're probably equivalent to a onboard Intel graphics card now. But they're going for like $1,000 on Marketplace. A friend of mine has it's a 6 gig card. It's nothing it's mid-range card, nothing special. I think he said he paid $350 for it like 6 months ago, and he had one of those Geeks to You or whatever, one of the computer guys come around, fix his system because he's having problems with it, and that guy offered him $2,000 on the spot for his graphics card.
Wow.
And he literally just uses it for like word processing and Zoom calls. That's all he uses it for.
Yep.
And he goes, if you can get me another graphics card that'll do that, then okay.
Yeah. Ka-ching.
This guy goes out to his truck and pulls out some old 5-year-old card and chucks it in, sets it all up, and goes, "There you go, does what you want to do." It's like, "Yep, cool." And gives him his $2,000, and
Nice.
so he goes computer repaired and $2,000 for his trouble.
Uh,
So yeah,
you want to
pretty
work in
stupid.
computer recycling business right now, get all
Oh.
the old ones and dig all the cards out.
At the moment. Yeah, well, a lot of people are. That's where there's systems.
I can't
selling-
afford to buy a graphics card for $2,000, so I'll buy an old computer.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't work, but the graphics card work, and the graphics card is worth $3,000 by itself.
Well, there's a guy I know who does the government refurbished thing. You know,
Mm.
And they go to auction. They pay $30 for them. They sell them for $500, and they spend an hour on them to make sure they're good. But they're actually now specifically targeting from the auction. They're specifically targeting computers that don't work.
Yep.
Because they can pick them up. They're still paying $100 for them. But the thing is that they're going to have, even if they don't care about the rest of the system, they just want their graphics cards out of them. Because they can sell the whole system with internal graphics for $500, or they can sell just a graphics card for $500.
Yeah.
So
It's crazy.
it's just like the world's gone mad. You know, like what's going to be the next shortage? You know, we had this whole pandemic thing, and everyone's like, "Oh, we're going to run out of food, and we're going to run out of power, and we're going to run out of..." No, we've run out of graphics cards.
That's it.
Well, chips
It makes sense, doesn't it?
chips in general, really.
It's like toilet paper.
I go, one of my customers, that's what happened. They crushed all the silicon and turned it into toilet paper. One of my customers, he works for, I think it's John Deere. I can't remember, but one of those big corporations. And they've had to stop selling a lot of their harvesters and stuff at the moment. Well, they've had to stop selling the top model ones, because the top model ones have got the GPS, the auto driving, all that sort of stuff. And they can't get chips for it. They can only sell the entry-level tractors that don't have all that stuff, because they can't physically get all these Texas Instrument chips and all these chips they
Same
need.
for cars. I've been reading the car industries can't get your in-car entertainment system, so they're taking them out of the expensive cars and installing them into the mid-range ones that they can't get that for, and then selling it with that, because you just can't. They have to get it from the more expensive machines that are just sitting on the lot.
Oh, it's so dumb. And this is what happens. I don't mind China manufacturing stuff, but when there's only when there's two factories that or say there's one factory that just manufactures that chip, which is fine. But when two or three of their biggest export markets go, "No, we don't need your services anymore," even though there's nobody else in the world who makes this chip, because the miraculously they're going to get it from somewhere else. So the chip ramps down. This factory ramps down production. And suddenly these couple of countries go, "Oh, wait, we can't get those chips anywhere else. Can you get us the ones that you should have got us before?" Well, no, because we haven't made them because you told us you didn't want them.
They
There's
bite
like
the
a
hand, son.
6-month turnaround.
Yeah.
So basically, so if you've got a computer and you think about upgrading it, if your computer dies and your graphics card still works, keep your graphics card.
Sell the graphics card and buy a whole new
buy the whole new computer. Without a graphics card that you can't. But the upside is if you've got a USB-C monitor, you don't need a graphics card.
Or if you got Intel built into the Intel integrated graphics built into the CPU.
Yeah, or you just go and buy like the Raspberry Pis with like the HDMI outputs and just live on that for. And even they're struggling. Like I was reading a thing saying that the Pi Foundation can't get graphics chips for their Pi 4s with the one they do with the keyboard and stuff. They can't get the graphics chips for them.
400, isn't it?
Yeah, Pi 400. So even things like that you don't think about, and even a lot of that's roll-on effect of that is TVs and things like that, where they can't get because they all use graphics drivers now. It's not just a matter of them to, in the old days, they fired an electron beam at the back of the screen that made a picture. Now it's all done with driver chips, and they can't get those driver chips either. So, it's
hardware decoders and all sorts of stuff.
It's really actually quite a big problem. I don't think people realise just how much of an issue it's going to be. So they will when they start buying things, and you'll even notice a lot of manufacturers have dropped their phone range down to. Instead of having 12 different versions of the same phone, they've got 2 now, just to try and mitigate. Because even Apple is saying that on their new iPhone, there's a 3-month backlog
Yep.
I think I was just reading here somewhere. Apple's iPhone 12. There's a 3-week waiting time to confirm if you can purchase the phone, and then there's a 3-month wait to actually get the phone. But there's only a limited amount of chips, so you've got to wait the 3 weeks to see if they've got enough chips to fulfill the order before you can put an order in. So, 'tis fun. Speaking of, well, actually, we should have this one earlier. We were talking about encryption and crypto. But ACIC, so who's the Australian Criminal Intelligence Commission, because there's an oxymoron.
They're intelligent criminals that work there.
That's right. You got to be a smart criminal to work there. They believe there's no legitimate reason for law-abiding member of the community to own or use encrypted communications platform.
Which is funny because I just saw a news article saying that Americans are more and more turning to
VPNs
VPNs to try and ensure
issues.
that stuff is kept private because everything's hackable.
Yeah. I just read that article too, and I'm like, literally in there we've got the Australian Intelligence Organisation saying, no, you don't need it because if you're not doing anything wrong, you won't get hacked.
Yeah. What?
I'm pretty sure that's the way it works, right?
Yeah. No.
You know, so basically, so basically the platforms are used almost exclusively. So these platforms, so they're talking about encrypted platforms like VPNs and encrypted point-to-point communications like Zoom. There you go. There's an example of it that we're using right now. These platforms are used almost exclusively by SOC or serious and organised crime groups and are developed specifically to obscure the identities of the involved criminals entities and enable avoidance of detection by law enforcement. They enable the user to communicate with enclosed networks to facilitate highly sophisticated criminal activity.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
Will somebody please smack these people in the face and give them a reality check? So basically, they want to amend the Surveillance Legislation Amendment Identity and Disrupt Bill of 2020. So it gives them powers to basically, if you're using a VPN, they want to bust in your door and go crook at you for using a VPN. Because they'll
Good luck
know
with that.
who you are when you're using a VPN.
You must be evil.
Wait, what?
Guilty until proven innocent, isn't that the law?
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. So yeah, basically, Australia would head the Australian Federal Police and new computer warrants dealing with online crime. The first of the warrants is a date disruption one. The second is network activity warrant, and the third is an account takeover warrant. They're saying that assessment and dissemination of criminal intelligence and information to inform national strategies and address transnational to address transnational serious and organised crime. To deliver on this purpose, the powers and capabilities of the ACIC must keep pace with technological trends and emerging trends to ensure the agency is able to adequately tackle serious cyber-enabled crime and sophisticated criminal groups using encrypted platforms.
That's it. I'm buying a VPN tonight.
I mean, I've got a VPN. I use it most of the time, but it's like you can clearly tell that anybody with anything resembling authority in this country has zero concept of technology.
Yep.
Because in Queensland now, not only do we have to use, if we walk into any state-owned thing like a museum or a library, we have to first use the Australian COVID
Services.
Check-in Act thing.
Yep.
And then after we've done that, we have to log into the Queensland app thing and scan in with that.
Track you everywhere.
I mean, not that I do either, but it's like, really, like, you can't even agree on the one platform to use to track us. You've got to track us on multiple platforms now. Because my phone doesn't tell you where I am anyway by default.
Yep. All the cell towers know where you are 24/7.
Yeah, if you Google, I think it's something like my history, my
Google
visited-
location history.
Yeah, you Google that, and it'll literally everywhere you've taken your phone with you, it'll tell you exactly where you've been.
Yep.
Dates and times, locations, the whole lot.
I get an email every month saying, "Here's the places you travelled to
Yeah.
this month.
Would you like to
2
see
new
it?
cities, 1 new country town,
Yep.
4 shops."
So basically, they're basically saying that if you have any form of crypto, so basically if you lock your front door, you're a criminal.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, a lock is just a cryptographic lock. Like, that's all it is. It's a cipher. It takes one set of information, turns into a second set of information.
Yep.
There's no difference between locking your front door and using encryption. It's exactly the same thing.
It's ridiculous.
So dumb. So dumb. And with the government being as dumb as they are, I can't believe everybody should be using encryption.
Well, we're coming up pretty much the end of the show, so I better do a couple of quickies. Telstra has been fined 1.5 million over its unilateral decision to suspend most landline number porting during the first COVID lockdowns last year when it ran short of offshore resourcing.
Yeah.
The Australian Communications Media Authority said today that Telstra paid the fine. Had it done so, it could have faced much more substantial court-imposed penalties. As was reported at the time, Telstra suspended most local number porting when the offshore teams that performed the work could not do so due to COVID lockdowns in India. That impacted more than 42,000 services, which they said could not be moved from Telstra to other telcos or vice versa as requested by Australian consumers. The ACMA found that Telstra unilaterally cancelled transfer requests that were scheduled to occur and stopped accepting new requests. This was done without prior warning to other telcos, which were left not being able to help new and existing customers transfer their service while keeping their phone number. And a nice little one,
Huh?
a second... Huh?
I don't get it. They still want to use you as your provider. They literally just want to change the location of a line so they can have access to a line.
Well, if you're porting from Telstra to Optus or Vodafone to Telstra or whatever,
Yeah,
you
but-
couldn't do that.
They can't. Anyway.
And a second 35-metre dish antenna will be built at the European Space Agency's new Norcia station in Western Australia with a budget of $70 million for procurement, construction and building and service upgrades. ESA and the Australian Space Agency jointly announced the build of the new antenna, which weighs 62 tonnes. The new Deep Space Antenna 2 will use cryogenically cooled antenna feed at just 10 Kelvin or minus 263 Celsius to achieve a 40% improvement at the high S and X band frequencies used for spacecraft command and control systems. Thanks to the supercooled antenna feed, the new dish is so sensitive it can pick up signals much weaker than those emitted by mobile phones from a distance as far away as 1.44 billion kilometres. ESA's ground stations communicate with the Bepi Colombo, Gaia, as well as Mars Express and ExoMars Trace gas orbiter missions. An ESA member nation contractor will assume a prime role for the project, but ESA said a significant portion of the budget will be spent in Australia with local companies. The new antenna is not only positive progress in agency and ESA's cooperative relationship, but also an important contributor to the local economy, which will help grow Australia's civil space industry. Future deep space missions to Mars and Mercury are planned, and ESA intends to build more antennae around the world to communicate with the craft. CSIRO operates the new Norcia site for ESA, and the antenna will be a fourth for the agency, with one in Argentina and another in Spain, complementing the Australian dishes. Nice. More spacey stuff for Australia. Epic win.
And now the complete opposite of that. Budget 2021. My government to undergo a multi-million-dollar makeover. The Australian government on Thursday unveiled its new digital economy strategy, a near $1 billion commitment to making the country a leading digital economy by 2030. They started by handing MyGov $200 million.
They said, thank you, we won't change anything, but we appreciate the donation.
Part of the makeover is going to implement a chatbot. That's
It
like
can
literally
only go
the
bad.
biggest part of the leading story is that there's going to implement a chatbot. And this
It's
is
going to be a live person chatbot that's operated by somebody overseas because they're cheap, right?
and keeping in mind that this is to happen by 2030.
We should want a holographic chatbot by 2030.
So whoever's writing these checks, can I have a couple? I'll do something with them as well.
Just become mates with the libs.
So just one thing I want to say that is incredibly well, I saw it on my Facebook feed earlier. So this is a giant wood moth. Apparently these are quite common up here. Now I've never seen one that big. I've seen one probably 3 or 4 inches long. But it got me looking through some of the photos, and holy crap, these things are freaking huge.
Yeah.
Apparently they're really common up here, like almost to the point where they're a pest. But
good eating though.
You could survive for a week off one of these things. Look at the size of it.
Stick them in the oven.
You know, like it's just. I mean,
A little bit of broccoli, a bit of stuffing.
You really could. I mean, you know, this one that this guy found on the end of the saw, like it's you know a third as long as his saw is.
Yeah.
But it got me thinking. Our geckos sit on the back window in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Waiting for the moths to land on the windows, and the geckos come and knock them. I'm like, if that thing goes out, does the gecko go like, dude, I'm out? No.
What the hell is that? That's the biggest dinner I ever had.
I'm not hungry tonight. I don't know why. I'm not feeling it.
Don't worry, we got snakes big enough to take them down.
Oh, then, but
and spiders,
huge.
Snakes and spiders will eat them.
Oh yeah, we got dinner plate spiders, which are like, you know, well, dinner plate size.
Yeah.
And then there's that snake that eats, you know, crocodiles and kangaroos.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah, won't have any problem with a giant boggon moth.
Not one for saying that Australia's got, you know, some pretty insane wildlife, but so
why not?
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the Aussie Tech Head Show broadcast weekly. We can be found at Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Patreon, and coffee.com/Aussie Tech Heads. Email us, Will and Warlock, at aussietechheads.com.au. You can hear Aussie Tech Heads on aussietechradio.com 24/7. Playback of tech-related shows from around Australia and New Zealand. New shows added each Friday. See you next time.
Bye.